Hello, I'm Robin Vincent and welcome to Molten Modular. This is a series of videos designed to help you take those first hesitant steps into the world of modular synthesis. If you're a bit like me, then you're sort of enthralled and fascinated by modular. All the beeping, the fizzing, the noises and the melodic craziness that kind of goes on. But you just don't really know how to get into it. Well, I'm getting stuck in and I wanted to share my journey. In this episode, I'm going to demonstrate why I believe that semi-modular is the gateway drug to modular proper. Now, I know, we're all sort of poised on that cliff, just ready to fall in to this crazy world of modular synthesis. I mean, I know I've been there for about a year, but 6 months ago, following some good advice and kind of my gut feeling, I got myself a semi-modular synth. It's opened up a whole raft of noises, possibilities and experiences that I believe have prepared me better for when I head into proper modular synthesis. Now, not everyone agrees with that, but there are many paths into this modular lark, and this is mine. So what is a modular synth? Well, I'm going to assume that you have some kind of knowledge about synthesizers. I mean, here's one. An Ovation Bass Station 2. It's a fabulous little mono synth. And look, it's got an oscillator or two, it's got an envelope here, LFOs, filter, big filter knob over here, everything that you'd actually expect to find on a modular system, except that the base station is completely standalone and independent. Sure, it has MIDI control, but there's no real opportunity to integrate it with other synthesizer modules. I can't take the oscillator and route that out through a different kind of filter. It's all wired internally. Now, this internal wiring seems to be referred to by two relatively interchangeable terms, normaled and normalization. Now, in my world, normalization actually describes a different sort of audio process. So for my purposes and what I understand, I'm going to use the word normaled, but you might find it referred to as normaled or normalized. Anyway, in the base station, all the wiring is fixed, internaled, it's normaled, which is essentially pre-patched and fixed. A semi-modular synth is very similar to the base station in many ways. It contains all the same sort of synthesizer building blocks, and it's normaled in the same way with a lot of internal connections behind the front panel. But, and it's a big but, a semi-modular synth has a bunch of patch points which allows you to route audio and control voltage into and out of the synthesizer. It's this that allows it to play with other modular modules, and that's why it's called semi-modular. It's not fully modular because there's internal normaled wiring, some pre-patching going on, so that I know that the oscillator is wired to this and that it will create sound. I don't have to make those basic connections. Those are already there. Semi-modular. But it has all these patch points that allow me to route out from things and back in. That's the modular bit. Semi-modular. Got it. Yes. So with my Moog Mother 32 here, as you can see, we've got an oscillator over here somewhere, oscillator frequency. I've got a filter here. I've got an LFO knob here. Envelope knocking around down here. Very similar to the base station in most respects. And then I've got this patch panel over here, which lets me get in and out of it really easily. Now, a criticism of the Mother 32 is the fact that all the patch points are over on one side. In some ways it's kind of ordered and useful, but in other modules and other semi-modular synthesizers, patch points can appear closer to where they're actually going. So for instance, if you want to route the oscillator out, the patch point will actually be next to the oscillator, which has a lot going for it, I think. But whether you like ordered or a bit more of a scattered approach, the theory is the same, that with a semi-modular, it has internal background wiring and patch points to let you get into a larger world. Now this is of course Eurorack, which means it takes these 3.5mm sockets and patch cables like this one. They just go in there and patch it to something somewhere else. So before we get into patching and actually making some noises and stuff, I just wanted to sort of emphasize what I think is the real vital advantage of semi-modular. The thing is that it will always make sound. Now I know that seems odd, but when you start with a proper modular system and you get an oscillator, that's the thing that makes sound, and you get an envelope perhaps and a filter and other bits and pieces. It's not until you've learnt how to patch those together, how to wire them from one end to the other, that you'll actually get any sound out. Now, of course, that's stuff that we want to learn, and that's fine, and we will get there. But the point, one of the points with a semi-modular, is that you turn it on and it will start making sound immediately. It's got a MIDI socket here, for instance. I plug a keyboard in, like my bass station, pop a bass station in, hit a note, it will make a sound. It comes out of the audio port at the back at the right sort of level for my mixer or my sound card or my speakers or whatever it is I'm using. So with a semi-modular, you get it out of the box, you sit it down, and it's a synthesizer. It works. It makes sound. It has familiar knobs on the top that make you touch them and change them and make different noises and stuff. And you can do that straight away without any modular knowledge, without any patching. You don't have to do anything of this. It will make sound straight away, which for someone who's making their first little steps into modular synthesis, that is vital. Otherwise, you might find yourself with an expensive, complex modular system that you just can't get any noise out of. And I see on forums a lot of people, a lot of newcomers who jump straight in and find themselves frustrated quite quickly because it's not actually producing the sort of sounds that they expect to see because of all the videos that they've watched. So I believe the slightly more sensible, dare I say it, route is to buy a semi-modular synth which will make sound. It will always make sound. You're not going to be able to patch it out of existence or get it all wrong or blow it up accidentally in your case by plugging in the power supply wrong. It just makes sound, and a great sound. I mean, this is a flipping Moog. It's a Moog, which just means it sounds awesome. And then along with that is that it's completely capable of being patched into a modular system. So it's always going to be useful. If you go further into modular, you can start putting it in with other things and exchanging stuff around and getting your oscillator to go through different filters or filters back into other things or use different envelopes or mess it about in any way that you like. Or, and this is a big or, that once you've started down this road, not everybody wants to make it to the end. You may find that once you've fiddled around a bit that you actually don't really want this modular lark and you'd rather go back to using good old synthesizers. And that's fine, that's great. And in fact, that's another reason why semi-modular is so awesome, because it's still a synth. It will always be a synth. So even if you don't buy another module, even if you don't ever patch anything ever again, you've still got a flipping amazing synthesizer on your desk to play with. And that's why you can't lose if you buy a semi-modular synth. Other people see it differently. If you go and ask on forums, you'll get half the people saying, yeah, great idea, go and buy a Mother 32 or something similar. And you'll get half people saying, no, don't do that, it's a whole waste of time, you'll hate it. Get a modular synth, buy a load of modules, stick it together and jump straight in because you'll learn a whole lot more. And that's all fair enough. But for me, it was just too big a step. I needed something to see whether I thought this was going to be for me, to see whether I was actually going to make this journey, because it's not a cheap journey, it's not a simple journey. You know, it's going to take a bit of work. And so for me, I just needed something. I needed to test the water. I needed to see whether I was going to enjoy something like this, whether I could get my head around any of the sort of patching that goes on, which would be a good indication to me as to whether going forward into modular was a good idea. And it's a Moog. Moog. Oh, I don't know. And this has been awesome for me. I mean, I dropped it into performance like a week after I got it because it's just so easy. And it just wants you to play, and it makes noises, and it always sounds fantastic. I mean, usually I suffer a lot from purchase anxiety and getting a new bit of gear, and it's never quite exactly kind of what I wanted. But this has never disappointed at any point. It's probably been my best purchased in the last 10 years, I should think, except for perhaps this little fella. Now, there are a number of excellent semi-modular synths out there. The Moog Mother 32 is just one of them. There are others, for instance, the Dreadbox Erebus. Fabulous little, funky little thing. It's got a delay effect built in, which is, in some ways, its most unique feature. And that just gives it a whole load of bounce, and it's just fun to play with. The other one is from Pittsburgh Modular. It's a very serious. Lifeforms, it's called, the SV1, which is a good, chunky sized, complete synthesizer voice. Sounds fabulous, of course, because Pittsburgh Modular make a lot of very serious looking, proper modules for modular synthesis. And then there's this fella. This is the Make Noise O Coast or Zero Coast, depending on something. Which is just a crazy box of knobs and things that I don't have any idea as to what's going on. But it makes some of the most amazing noises ever. And whenever I use it, it just kind of rips this smile across my face because it's just capable of craziness. And you need a bit of craziness in your life, I think. But I'll never pretend to understand it. So generally speaking, we won't have this out very much because otherwise people will ask me questions about it and I'll just look stupid because I'll be going, oh, I don't know, it just makes this noise when I turn this thing. Now the Dreadbox Erebus is probably the cheapest at around $429. I think everything else, the Pittsburgh, the Mother 32 and the O Coast, they're all around the 600 quid mark. And honestly, if I had like 3 of those, I would probably be completely happy just playing with those, just patching them together. 3 different sound sources all going at once. They're just fabulous. And I could completely see myself not going any further into modular and just having a wonderful time with this sort of desktop array of semi-modulars. They are easy, they work. There's a fair amount of cross-modulation patching potential, and you don't require any of that fiddling about with cases or power supplies. And essentially, you already know how to use them. So if you have any doubts at all about your modular synthesis journey, then get one. Get one of these. Start here. This is where you should begin. However, if like me and you're determined to get into this modular lark, then I would heartily recommend the Moog Mother 32. Why? Well, because it's a Moog. It sounds fantastic. It has an architecture you're going to understand. Not only that, it's the only one of these semi-modulars that has a built-in keyboard. It has a little keyboard. It's also the only one that has a built-in sequencer. So not only can you get this out of the box and just play it with the little paddy notes on the top, you can start sequencing and making tunes and noises and patterns and transpose them and store them and start creating music within the box itself. And of course it has a MIDI input, so it'll just sit into your normal system. And it has a regular jack-sized output on the back, so there's no possibility for confusion. It will sit into your regular setup and work like any other synth, and it can work all by itself. It's got a sequencer, it's got a keyboard, it can run other stuff. It's the great starting point. And then that's not all. The one last final thing is that this can be taken out of its case and dropped in to a proper modular case. Now you can also do this with the Pittsburgh Lifeforms, but you can't do it with the O Coast. Well, you sort of can, but you need to get a saw out and things like that. So it's messy. And you can't do it with the Dreadbox either. So when you do finally graduate to a modular synthesizer properly, then you can take the Moog with you. You just take it apart, drop it in, connect it up to the power supply, and it's there. It's part of your system. On the downside, it's 60 HP wide, which means if you buy an 84 HP case, it's going to take up more than half of that, which is a lot of space dedicated to a single device. And although £600 may seem a lot, that's probably cheaper than buying all of these bits individually as modules. And also there's a really healthy second-hand market, so even if you decide not to keep this once you step up to proper little modules, then you'll probably find you can get quite a bit of money back on it by selling it. Or if you don't have much money to start with, then what the hell are you doing here? But you know, if you're doing it on a budget, then you'll probably find very decent ones of these secondhand. So that's enough chatter. I think I've made the case for semi-modular, and now we're going to pop into the shed, patch a few noises together. The Mother 32 then. It's a synthesizer, look at it. It has an oscillator. Has a filter. Has a noise generator. An envelope. And an LFO. It's easy, it's a synthesizer, we understand it. But what I wanted to do is just have a very quick look at the patch panel over here, because this is what helps it reveal itself as part of a modular setup. And once we begin to understand this, then it will start to push us down those little steps on our way to modular. So let me give you a couple of really simple examples. Let's go with the LFO. Okay, the LFO is normaled inside to the cutoff. There. It's also to the pulse width here. Or to the oscillator. Now that's great, those three things can be modulated, but nothing else from the front panel. However, over here, I've got an LFO output. Triangle, let's try that. Let's take a patch cable, take the LFO there, and plug it into something else. So I've got it running the cutoff. How about if I run the resonance as well? So I've now got the one LFO running both of these knobs. Just that simply, and I could not do that from the front panel. Now the LFO has got a triangle wave and a square wave, and it can use both of them actually at the same time. It's always generating them, it's just that you switch between them on the front panel here. So if I leave the cutoff going on the triangle, I can take the square output, which is here, plug that into the resonance for a slightly different sound. As simple as that, and I've already transformed what was being created. Another quick example within the Mother 32 is actually quite a level of complexity where you, through a number of key presses, can assign various things to this little assignable port here. Now what I've done the magic, and I've created a random step generator. So with every step of the sequencer, it creates a random voltage coming out of that port there. So if we run the sequencer, so I can take that output and plug that, for instance, into cutoff. So now I've got a random step on every single one of these, which is changing the cutoff frequency. I could also do it to the resonance. Perhaps more interesting is to do it to the LFO rate. See it over here varying with each step. Now that's all very groovy, but we're not done yet. One of the modules that people are always telling you to get is a along with sort of attenuators and mixers and these kind of utility modules that don't sound remotely interesting, but everybody says that you need them. Now, until you get into actually doing modular, I don't think you'll understand why you'll need one. I still don't really know why I need any of these things. However, the Mother 32 has a mult built in here, which has enabled me to discover what it's all about. Now, a mult could not be simpler. It simply takes an input and splits it into 2 outputs, or more than 2 outputs if you have a mult with more outputs. So I can take my assignable step generator, plug that into the mult. Then I can take the first output of the mult, plug that back into whatever it was I was using. Oh yeah, the LFO rate, let's stick it in there. So I've now got what I had before. But I have another random step generator now out of this second mult that I can stick into something else, like the resonance. So along with the LFO, when that goes crazy, the resonance goes crazy too. Or perhaps I could stick it into the FM input. So now with each step, I'm getting a random voltage sent to the LFO rate. And to the oscillator's frequency modulation input. Can I go further? Sure. Let's take the triangle, stick that into the resonance. So there you go. That's, I think, what you would call a patch. Look, I've patched stuff together. It's making slightly weird sounds. That's definitely, for me, what modular is all about. It's about taking a synthesizer, which is, sensible and workable and doing the usual sort of job you expect it to do, and then messing with it, getting its head all inside out and back to front, and having different things going off that you could never do on a normal synthesizer. And this is the beauty of it. This is what propels me into this stuff, is the desire to find strange and interesting ways to patch together different bits of sound, different sound generating modules, different modulation modules. That's the essence of modular synthesis right there. And you can start out here. You can start out simply by putting 1 or 2 things together, and it suddenly starts to unravel. It suddenly starts to open itself up, and you can see what all the fuss is about, even through something as simple as what I've done here. It has the potential to be extraordinary, and that's why I'm interested in modular, and that's what my semi-modular has given to me. That hunger, that desire. It's demonstrated to me that there's actually something in this that I can grab hold of, that I enjoy, that I like, that I want to be involved in. And I think without this step, I think I probably would have been lost somewhere, not knowing what to do, what to patch together, and going back very quickly to a regular synth. Is that okay? So there you have it. Be smart. Get yourself a Semi. It's less scary, it's probably cheaper and easier, so you don't have to faff around with all that case and power supply nonsense. And if you go no further, you've still got a flipping awesome synth to play with. There's one more step I want to show you before I finally take the plunge into modular myself, and that's having a look at a software modular by Softube. That'll be my next video, and if you're wondering why on earth I'm doing that, then you better check it out because I make it very clear, and I think you'll find it pretty useful. So, I hope this has been helpful, and in the meantime, go and make some tunes.